What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving my Premier League team of the season so far up to game week 12. Right, so in goal I've gone with Vicario, Tottenham's new number one. He's been absolutely fantastic since his arrival. He has a really high save percentage, he's playing out from the back really well as well. Obviously Alisson is also in serious contention for this. It was between the two. I'm mainly edge it to Vicario just because he is new to the league, he's adapted really well and I've been really impressed by that. And I guess I'm more used to seeing this from Alisson. It's really a toss-up and I know a lot of people put Alisson in. I think Areola deserves a shout, he's been very good at West Ham so far this season. At right back, I've gone with Kieran Trippier. I think Matty Cash has a big shout. You could make a case for Kyle Walker. But Kieran Trippier has had some absolutely phenomenal games this season so far. He's had a couple where he's been a bit shaky, like against Wolves and against Bournemouth, he wasn't fantastic. But he's had some games where he's just completely run the show, created the majority of the Newcastle chances. Great from set pieces, he can do everything. He's got so many assists so far. Now, the two central defenders I've gone with are William Saliba and Mickey van der Ven. Van Dijk was very close and it was a bit of a toss-up again. You know, you can make a case for any of these three to be in there. For me, William Saliba is just so good. The way he dealt with Erling Haaland, his pace, his position, everything about his game is like Van Dijk in my opinion. Like, he's just so composed on the ball. He's really good. And Mickey van der Ven, again, it was no coincidence that Tottenham were unbeaten with him in the team, and he's been injured for a couple of games and they've lost both of them. He just provides so much stability in the backline. He's so quick. Again, the recovery runs are so important to Tottenham, especially the high line they're playing. He's been perfect for him. He can dribble out from the back, he can play a good pass. The injury he suffered looked really bad, but luckily he hasn't had to go through surgery. And I've actually seen pictures of him already back in training, which is insane if he is. At left back, I've gone with another Tottenham player, Destiny Udogie. Once again, I don't think there's too many players you can put at left back. I don't think any other left back's been anywhere near as good as him. He's played against both Mohamed Salah and Bukayo Saka and dealt with them pretty well. For a 20-year-old, again new to the league, a very young defender, but he's just slotted in seamlessly, and they really missed him against Wolves in the last game. He's very physical, he's quick, he has good positioning, he wins the ball back out the pitch, he's got a good cross on him, he's got everything. And as long as his attitude is right and he keeps improving, he can go on to be one of the best left backs in the world. Now, in defensive midfield and central midfield, I've gone with Rodri and Declan Rice. I do want to give a quick shout out to Conor Gallagher. I think he also has a strong case to be here. He's been fantastic for Chelsea. Rodri's pretty self-explanatory, I think. You know, he's the most important player in the best team in the world. Can't really say too much. Like with Van der Ven, the couple games that Manchester City haven't had Rodri available for, they've lost. And with Declan Rice, you know, I mentioned in my last video, the Arsenal midfield have been dreadful. Obviously, Partey's been injured. Jorginho isn't a very good player anyway. Kai Havertz is a terrible player and has been playing terribly, and Ødegaard just has not found any form so far this season. Every game I watch Declan Rice in, he is phenomenal. He drops a 9 out of 10 every single game. He's got everything in his game. He's strong defensively. Even though he doesn't look like the most physical player, he is quite strong. He's also quite fast, which isn't something that I think a lot of people would associate with him, but his dribbling is really good. His passing is fantastic. His reading of play is great, like so good. And he's one of the most press-resistant players in the world. And there's a reason no one talks about the price tag anymore. And it's because he's been worth every single penny. If anything, Arsenal got him on a cheap deal. In attacking midfield, not really any question for me, James Maddison being the best player in the league so far this season. He's created so many opportunities. He scored a couple goals as well. Hopefully, like with Van der Ven, we'll see him back soon, but I think for him it's less likely we'll see him before the new year. If Kevin De Bruyne didn't exist, we'd be looking at Maddison as a perfect number 10. The majority of chances that Tottenham create come through James Maddison. And like with Udogie and Van der Ven, him not being able to play against Wolverhampton Wanderers really meant that Tottenham had no creative spark. They hardly created any chances, and with him in there, you know they would have. I will mention Szoboszlai because he has been very good. Again, he's adapted to the league quickly, but I don't think he's performing on the same level as James Maddison. On the right wing, I've gone with Mohamed Salah. To be honest with you, when I've watched him, I haven't actually been very impressed with him. I think he's looked quite poor in a lot of games. Like against Luton, he wasn't great. Against Everton, he was terrible. But he scored so many goals, and although 3 of them have been penalties, and one of them was a rebound from a penalty, which, you know, don't really know if you should count those goals. He's been a creative force as well. If he was to get injured, Liverpool would be in the mud. You know, at the start of the season, he was also playing in a more creative role, I want to say, because he had quite a lot of assists early on. Right now, though, it looks like he's going back to the more traditional Mohamed Salah that we've seen in the last few years. He's got 10 goals and 4 assists already so far this season. I think you kind of have to include him. And like I said, I don't think he's playing as well as he has been in previous years and as well as he can. And to be honest, that just means that he's got another gear he could go up, which is scary. I think come the end of the season, Palmer could be in contention here. I think he's been fantastic at Chelsea. Again, all his goals so far have just been penalties though. But he is playing superbly. He's creating a lot of chances. And in my opinion, if Chelsea are going to get into the top 4, he will need to be electric. Saka's the other obvious one. Personally, I don't think he's been that good this season. He started fairly well, but in terms of performances, he once again is another one that has a couple gears he could go up. And once he is playing to that ability, he absolutely has a chance of being in this team. Now at left wing, you might have noticed I didn't mention a very obvious person at right wing, and that's just because I've stuck him here. It's Jared Bowen. There is no way I could make this video and not have him in, because he has been really, really good at West Ham so far this season. He's played in a couple different positions off the right, which is what you'd say is the more natural position is, but he's also played as a striker. He scored 8 goals already this season, which is more than he got in the entirety of last season. And you watch him and he's just like, he's not the most flashy player, but he is so effective. He's in the right positions all the time. He's got a very good strike on him. And he's just an all-round nightmare for defenders to deal with. A few honourable mentions though, Neto has been phenomenal. I know he's mainly played off the right, but there's too many players over there, so I had to put him on the left as well. Obviously he's also injured, which is a shame, but he's been a creative force for Wolverhampton Wanderers so far this season. He missed the whole of last season through injury. 7 assists already at this point is mind-blowing, especially for a club like Wolves. And speaking of Wolves, Heung is another one I have here. He's sort of played more off the left this season. For him to have scored as many as he has, again, it's really impressive. Obviously, a lot of his goals are down to Neto's assists, but he's also scored some goals where Neto hasn't been involved, and obviously he's going to have to keep his performance up if Neto is injured for a while. Also got Son here. He has played up front for most season, but there's a few strikes I want to mention when we get onto that. Scored 8 goals so far this season. Without Maddison there, I am expecting that to slow down quite a bit. The way he strikes the ball is so clean as well, man. Like, some of his goals this season have been really, really good. He definitely deserves a mention here. Jeremy Doku. He's been really, really good when he has played. In my opinion, he hasn't played quite enough for me to warrant him that starting left wing spot in this team. What I will say is that at the end of the season, when I do this again, I do think he'll be the person at left wing. He's only going to get better as well. 21 years of age, he's contributing so much to that Manchester City team already. Really excited to see how far he can go. And up front, we'll get the man out of the way, Erling Haaland. The guy's already scored 13 goals this season, including a brace away at Old Trafford and away at Stamford Bridge. Those were 2 huge games, and the one criticism that you could have of him is that sometimes in big games he can go missing. Like towards the end of last season, he went on a bit of a drought, and he didn't do well against Arsenal this season either. Overall, I do think that's a bit of a myth. You know, I think he's actually really dangerous against the tougher teams because they push more people up, which means that he becomes more dangerous. Liverpool, one of just 2 teams that Haaland has failed to score against since being in the Premier League. And I do believe that he'll score in that game. But I do want to give a shout out to Wilson and Isak. 7 goals for Wilson, 6 goals for Isak. Both of them have had a lot of injury issues this season. With Wilson, we've known this for many years now. He's a phenomenal striker, but he just can't keep himself fit, which is a real shame. Because when he is playing, he seems to score every single game. And with Isak, he's a really talented player. Hopefully we won't see him getting injured again this season either. If he can keep himself fit, I can easily see him getting 20 to 25 goals this season. I think he's that good. Ollie Watkins and Dominic Solanke are both on 6 goals. Both play really important roles in their teams. I think Solanke's actually been overlooked by a lot of people this season. Bournemouth have not been very good this season, but he still scored 6 goals. He plays a completely different role to Watkins, who is mainly just like, you know, sit in the box, will get you chances. Whereas Solanke has a bit more to do. He's got to, you know, press a bit more. He's got to bring his teammates into play a bit more. And he's doing that really well. As much as I don't like the guy, he's a very good player. And at a club like Chelsea now, I think he'd be perfect. But yeah, that's my team. Let me know what you'd change, who you agree with, who you disagree with. And I'll see you soon for another video.